Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing the quote-unquote TM30 debacle. Thought of making this video after reading a recent article from the Phuket News, that's thephuketnews.com. Article is titled, Phuket Immigration Demands Title Deeds, Home Walkthroughs for Permit of Stay Extensions. Yeah, so just as a preface here, Thai Immigration Office down in Phuket seems to be taking a much more proactive, and they're taking a very stringent approach to enforcing Thai immigration law, especially in the context of extensions of stay, asking for a lot of documentation that, quite honestly, a lot of other local immigration offices don't seem to be quite as concerned about. But from what at least I've heard anecdotally, Phuket there seems to be a lot going on down there. There seems to be a large influx of foreigners coming into Phuket, and there seems to be a large amount of foreigners among that influx who are trying to remain in Phuket on a more permanent basis. So Phuket immigration may have their own local reasons for requesting more information and documentation. In any event, I thought of making this video after reading the following excerpts from that article, quoting directly, the requirement for a foreigner to provide a copy of a Shinote title. So Shinote title is like a freehold title, or just Shinote means title. It's kind of a little bit redundant, but Shinote is a title deed. Quoting again, the requirement for a foreigner to provide a copy of a Shinote title for a property the foreigner does not own appears to be an attempt by Phuket Immigration to hold foreigners staying in Phuket responsible under Section 38 of the Immigration Act, which applies only to landlords and quote-unquote householders. Yeah, and that makes it sound like it's only the landlord that's required to deal with that. As we discussed going back, now this has been years ago, talking about TM30 and TM28, which was relevant at the time. TM28 has effectively been phased out. But even if you're leasing, you could be considered a householder, even though you're not necessarily the holder of the title deed. Quoting further, during the TM30 debacle, it was confirmed by previous Phuket immigration chiefs that applications for one-year permits to stay will not be refused for information that foreign applicants are not required to provide under immigration laws. So there seems to be some discrepancy down there, and Phuket News seems to be doing a pretty darn good job of following up on this with regard to whether or not foreign nationals need to provide this sort of extraneous documentation pertaining to where they are staying. And again, I think it's Thai immigration, and clearly this is, let's be clear, this is clearly a Phuket immigration issue. We're not seeing these issues up here in Bangkok. I'm not hearing about any of this going on down in Pattaya or Hua Hin for the most part. But again, each immigration office can deal with things differently, and they have to deal, they're sort of quote unquote boots on the ground. They have to deal with the situation as it arises in their jurisdiction. So different places may take a different approach to dealing with immigration matters. If you talk to folks that live up country, for example, there's certain provinces where, you know, the immigration office is like the Maytag repairman's office. There's nobody coming in because there's hardly any foreigners that live in that given province. And when somebody goes in to deal with an immigration matter, it takes an hour, you know, it's pretty laid back because there's not a lot going on. Again, Immigration Division 1 down here in Bangkok is the furthest thing from that. When you're dealing with Immigration Division 1 down here in Bangkok, you're talking about some pretty significant, you know, caseload they have to deal with. Those folks, they're pretty overworked, quite honestly. So, you know, and they kind of act accordingly. That said, down at Phuket Immigration, they seem to be taking the issue of address reporting pretty seriously, which then brings, you know, it does cause one to ask, is TM30 effectively going to be a major issue when you're down dealing with immigration extensions in Phuket? It would seem that it's a concern for now. Again, this article goes back to the beginning of this month. We're filming this in May. You know, who knows what the future holds with regard to this. We'll certainly keep you updated on this channel as the situation evolves.